Hello, everybody. I'm just going to make a quick one here today. And you'll have to pardon my voice because, yep, I got a virus of some sort, and this cold just lingers. It just goes and goes. I think I got it sometime after Halloween, and it just won't go away. And it's kind of ironic because the weather is beautiful right now. I'm in Southern California, and today it's in the 70s. It's like 74 according to my computer screen here. So here you are sitting in beautiful weather, nice blue skies, and you have a cold. You just can't get around that stuff. And this one it was severe at first, but now it just kind of lingers. But anyways, the weather is supposed to turn a little cloudy next week, which bums me out. There's a big cyclone type weather event going on up north starting in a couple of days. It's going to pour a bunch of rain on Northern California, and we're going to kind of get the leftovers from it, just kind of the clouds and maybe a little bit of rain here and there, but probably not too much. And I'm very thankful that it's not going to just be like right over Southern California, because after last winter, I got my fill of rain. So I came here today just to go over a couple of things with you guys. I hope you're enjoying the new season. I am. We're in period 5 now, and I just want to go over a couple of things with you guys. First off, I just want to point out how you should be gauging your talent. And right now I've pulled up my team, the Saints, and let's just look at a couple of things here. Josh Giddey, for example, you see that his fantasy points per game is 16.31. So what you want to do is take that number and compare it to his minutes played per game. And you want this number, fantasy points per game, to get as close to this number or exceed it as possible. So you can do the math. Now on my graphing calculator I've had since college days, I have a program that just quickly does that calculation for me. It's not a hard calculation. It's just fantasy points divided by minutes played times 48. So I just click in the stat program, and it already asked me the question, what was his points? Let's go 16.31, and then what's his minutes? And his minutes is 27.4, and you end up with 28.57 points per 48 minutes. That's pretty good. You want to shoot for anything 24 and above, and depending on the position, you'd like a little bit more. Big men tend to get more rebounds, higher field goal percentages. You really want them to hit the 30 or better mark in the 48-minute column. And this is why I have always included the 48-minute stats in your box scores. You'll see them under 48 MIN. The FMIN means their fantasy minutes, and the 48 MIN means their minute or their points, fantasy points per 48 minutes. And then, of course, the last column is points. That's what they actually scored in your fantasy game. And that's very important for guys that come off the bench because, as you know, you only get 48 minutes per position. So let's say you got two guys. One guy they both played 30 minutes, let's say. Your higher ranked guy comes in, gets the first 30 minutes. That leaves 18 minutes. So the backup has to enter the box score with just 18 minutes, not 30 minutes. So you divide his stats by 30 and multiply it by 18, and that gives you his fantasy score. And that's why I feel like this league is superior to other leagues, because I go that extra step and I do the box scores with spreadsheets so that we can get an accurate representation of your team. In other leagues, you could have two guys playing shooting guard and they both get 35 minutes. That is not realistic. So that's why I do it that way, because I really enjoy realism. So once again, just this really quickly, just look at this number, fantasy points per game, and compare it to his minutes played. And maybe even do your own calculations, to figure it out exactly. For example, now let's punch in Josh Hart's numbers. He scored 19.33, and he played 37.1 minutes. That clicks up a 24.97 per 48-minute stat, which is a very good stat for a small forward, actually. Small forwards, shooting guards, point guards, they tend to be lower. The really good point guards will exceed 30. I can see here Chris Paul, for example. If you look at his numbers, 16.23, and he plays 28.5 minutes. He's got a 27.33 at the point guard. He is filling in very nicely for the injured Ja Morant for the Saints right now. And that's something I like about my team, the Saints. We've got two guys here that are making $37 million apiece. You can see right over here that John Morant makes about $37 million. And then down here, we've got Zion Williamson, our other highest paid player. These are our two highest paid players. He's making $37 million. These guys are both out. And even though the Saints really didn't dominate last week, they only lost to two teams. Only two teams did better than the Saints. That was the Warriors, who barely beat the Saints by about a point, and the Denver Nuggets, who had a great week. But seriously, we are still on top of the league in spite of the fact that we have been without Zion Williamson and John Morant for a little bit of time here. Let's just look at the box scores standings page. As you can see, this is what I always do. I translate the standings. We all play each other each week. So I'll give you those numbers, tell you what you scored this week, right? I'll tell you what your record was this week. Obviously, the guy at the top is 9-0, and this is the season accumulated record. I take that winning percentage and translate it into a record that is similar to what the NBA is playing right now. The NBA is playing anywhere from 13 to 15 games per team, so I just multiply 3.5 times the number of game periods that we played. This week, that was 14. So the Saints sitting right at the top of the league with a 12-2 record, even without John Morant and Zion Williamson. That's pretty impressive. So that's that. Of course, I hope you guys are having no problem accessing these box scores. Shouldn't be any trouble. I'll just access mine right now. You click down in there to give you more space. Okay, so what I was talking about was, hold on. I'm just going to try to get rid of this upper, why won't it show me the top column? Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, I put in the 48-minute stats, a column for 48 minutes. That way you can compare your players. You can see how well they're doing. So you can see here that Daniel Gafford had 39.88 per 48. That's excellent. That's why he gets priority on minutes on my team. He and Kevon Looney both get priority at power forward. Look at Looney's numbers there. 54.51 last week. Yeah, he only played 13.7 minutes, but you're getting a lot of points. Look at all the fantasy points he scored. 16. It's because every minute he's out there, he is grabbing rebounds. He's not turning the ball over. If he does shoot, he's shooting at a very high field goal percentage. These are the kind of guys you want. Guys that are valuable per minute. Run the numbers when you look at the free agents. The best way to look at free agents, in my opinion, is go in here to players, and it'll show you all the available players right here on the first page. This is how I do it. And as you can see, you can compare their fantasy points per game by their minutes played. Just run the numbers on your calculator. Like I said, I have a program on my graphing calculator. So let's look at LeBron's numbers. He's got 2306. Sometimes I just round it just to go faster. So let's go 23, and we'll say he plays 35 minutes. 31.54 at small forward. He's a very good player, but of course he does cost $48.72 million, and nobody seems to want to shell out that cash to get a dominant small forward. Believe you me, LeBron James would be very adequate on your team as a small forward. Other than that, I have one other thing to talk about, and I'm going to let y'all go. If you're still here, hopefully you are. Transactions. So you look at your roster, and as you can see, you got these red. Let's just waive somebody, right? So you do that, and then it gives you the option to just drop them or claim somebody. If you drop them, it's instantaneous. It just happens right away. But let's say we go for LeBron James, right? And then let's say we're going to put Butler on this list as well. We're going to put Kyrie Irving because we want to sign somebody when we waive Reese Beckman. Of course, the salary would never work, but I mean, I'm just using this as an example. You submit it. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to go to your team page. Right? Up here, you're going to see pending transactions, right? And you're going to see your pending transactions, what they are. This is all part of group one. You can change groups. Let's say, you've got group one, you want to sign all three players perhaps, or maybe just one. So what you would do here, let's say you just want to sign one. I would go this way, just change that to one. And as soon as one of these guys is signed and Reese Beckman is waived, that group is done. So you can add other groups if like you maybe want to pick up a small forward for a certain player. You make that into group 1 and put like 3 or 4 small forwards. That way you ensure that you get them. Okay? Then you create a second group, say that one's for like a point guard. And you put in all these point guards that you would like to sign in group 2, and you pick a player to waive or not. Maybe you have the money to just sign the player outright. That would be group 2. That way it separates. You can organize your free agent bids in this way. Use the question mark right here. It will teach you everything. This whole thing is a tutorial on how to use groups. See, right here. Use that question mark right there. Pull it up. It can explain it way better than me. It won't bore you as much because you can take your time, read through it, and it'll teach you exactly how this system works. I hope you guys all get it. I think most of you do. But I don't want you all to be intimidated by this site because it's not that intimidating. Just try stuff, just work with it. And if you really have a question, ask me and I will be there for you. Okay, guys? So I think that's about all I have for you today. Again, let's just go back and look at the standings as I'm checking out here. You go here to the message forum and you can check standings. And down here, I love the conversion to the NBA stats, the NBA standings, and there they are. The Saints sitting at first place, 12-2, and hoping to keep their foot on the gas. Denver struggled in period 3, but they came back strong in period 4. They had the best record, so they're right on the Saints' heels at 11-3. That is a vastly improved team this year. You got the Houston Rockets, always a tough team, at 10-4, and they've got some major injuries. Not Harrison Barnes, but Scotty Barnes is missing in action right now. And they also have an injury at point guard. DeJounte Murray is out. So Houston's really hanging tough there. San Francisco is starting to show their strength. You know, the season started kind of iffy for them, but, you know, I think, you know, Phil knows what's up. He's a good student of the game. So he's now stepped up to 10-4. And he's tied with the Rockets for the third best record. You got the Copperheads and the Pistons there at 7-7. I think Ben Johnson is a pretty good owner, and I think, you know, he needs to start like looking at his team a little bit. And there are some players out there that he could replace his current guys with and improve that team. And maybe in the future, I might do some videos where I just focus on one team so that the video is pretty quick, you know, to the point, and I'll just kind of go over somebody's team and just kind of, you know, give my opinion of the situation. And then there's, so besides the Pistons and the Copperheads who are battling with 500 records, you got the teams that are kind of struggling and looking to be part of the lottery next year. You got Boston Celtics, Poway Eagles, Philadelphia 76ers, Alberta Cowboys. Look, here's the deal. I am going to be bringing in possibly up to 4 new owners next year. We have 10 right now. We might have 4 new GMs next year. But here's the deal. If you end up last place in this league this year, you're going to get the number 1 pick next year. I'm not going to let the expansion teams take the lottery picks. The expansion teams will roughly come in. They'll get their first pick after the losing teams in this league get their picks. And they will enter the draft in the first round at least. Maybe in the second round, just for fairness, the expansion teams will move up to the top spots. But in the first round, if you're the worst team in the league this year, you get that number 1 pick next year, and everybody knows who that guy's going to be. It's going to be Cooper Flagg, I think it is. And here's the other thing. I know there's a play-in tournament, so Alberta would play the Philadelphia 76ers in a best of 3 in the first round. Look, here's the deal. If you're in the bottom 5 at the end of the season, you could still win the title and not lose your first pick. This is just for fun. I want everybody to play everybody to get a taste of the playoffs. But seriously, I don't see Alberta moving all the way through the ladder and beating the top-ranked team in the finals. I just don't think it's going to happen. And once you get to the top 5 teams, the wild card series is between the 4th and 5th ranked teams, and that's going to be a best of 7. So they would have to beat everybody in a best of 3 starting out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 series they'd have to win. 5 series even. No, 4 series. Then the 5th series would be a best of 7. The 6th series would be a best of 7. And the finals would be a best of 7. I don't see it happening. The only way that could happen is if Alberta, at the transaction deadline, when you can make your final waivers, they suddenly just empty out the cupboard, throw all the junk away, sign all the top name guys that are on free agency, and build a championship. That would be actually a pretty funny thing They could do that this year because the final waiver deadline is going to be in like mid-March, which gives you a chance to maybe see, just make some waves, just make a bunch of cuts, and you're not going to really get enough wins to move out of the bottom spot probably, or maybe you will be. If Philadelphia and Alberta are really close in the standings at the end, it would be silly for Alberta if they really wanted Cooper Flag to go ahead and just dump everything and build 12-player roster that's full of studs and maybe make a play for the championship. They would lose that first pick because Philadelphia would most likely in that last month of the season would probably overtake them in the standings. As they would get worse than them. Alberta would overtake Philly and lose that championship. I hope you guys understand that. I mean, basically, I just want everybody to enjoy the playoffs. But again, if you end up in the bottom 5 in this league, maybe in the future it'll be the bottom 4 if we get more teams. But if you end up with a losing record, even though we're going to do the play-in tournament, you will still maintain your draft position as of the last game, the end of the season. The guys that that have the winning records and are in the playoff picture, those teams, their draft position will be decided by their performance in the playoffs. I don't really foresee a team at the bottom, being able to build a good enough team to make a real run. They might be able to beat a few teams, but I doubt they could win the whole thing. But you know what? If you can pull that off, more power to you. And that's why next year I'm definitely going to move up the waiver cutoff deadline to like early March, so that you really have to, if you do make that play for the title, you have the worst record, and you just sign a bunch of great players, clean out the cupboards, free up a bunch of cash, sign the best guys on the free agent market, right? Maybe make a trade or something, and then you can make a real run at a championship and then maintain that first overall pick. Well, guess what? You're going to have to maintain that worst record for like 6 or 7 weeks, and I don't see that happening. So, that's about all I've got here. I'm going to cut it short right there. I think I've rambled on enough. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for playing. We'll talk to you later.